After World at War Zombies finished in 2009, a year later in 2010, Black Ops 1 released, where on disc on day one we got 2 Zombies maps for the first time, being Kino der Toten and 5. Kino der Toten I would say was the main map, and 5 was kind of a bonus map. And the reason I say this is because you got to play Kino der Toten straight away, whereas in order to play 5, you would have to either complete the final campaign mission or enter the code Triarch Unlock on the computer terminal. And besides from that, 5 actually felt like a bonus map. But because there were 2 maps you could play on day one, this meant that if you didn't like one of them, then at least you had another one to play. There was a chance that you'd like either Kino der Toten, 5, or both. I doubt many people liked either, but 5 was definitely the least popular of the 2. Why? I'm not 100% sure. I would say because it was harder by quite a bit. It's also smaller, and the characters you play as aren't the, in quotation marks, main characters in Call of Duty Zombies, so perhaps that contributed towards it being less popular as well. And I think I'd go along with that. Even going back now to play 5 to get some gameplay for this video, I got so frustrated just because of how difficult this map can be compared to Kino der Toten or any of the other DLC maps that we have in BO1, especially starting off. It is hard, and that was my opinion back in the day, so I never really liked playing 5. But luckily, I could play Kino der Toten instead, which really kicked off my love for Call of Duty Zombies, playing Kino. But that doesn't mean I don't appreciate what 5 did. It introduced a bunch of new features into the mode, a brand new cast of characters, new enemies, new power-ups, new wonder weapons. For a small bonus map, it did a lot. Because 5 takes place in the Pentagon, it has 3 different floors that you play on. The first floor, which is the starting location, because it's very cluttered, mainly with desks everywhere, you don't really have any room to train. You could camp in the elevator, which would take you down to the second floor or the war room, so that was a viable strategy. The war room is probably the location where you're going to be spending most of your time, not only because this is where you turn on the Pack-a-Punch, it's where Juggernog is, but it's the most open as well when you do purchase all of the barriers. And then you can also take a different elevator which will take you down to the third floor, which is where, really, you're only going to go to turn on the power. Unlike Kino, there isn't a huge space like there was in the theatre room where you can train the undead. That makes a massive difference when it comes to the difficulty and getting 2 high rounds. It was mainly the layout of the map which made 5 as difficult as it was. But that wasn't the only thing that contributed. There is a new enemy Triarch introduced, being the Pentagon Thief. He occurs sometime after round 4 once you've turned on the power, and then he comes back annoyingly about every 4 rounds. There's a 50-50 chance each round that he'll appear again. But anyway, when you see him, he's surrounded by a red cloud of mist. You'll hear him as he approaches, but what he does is steals the weapon that you're holding in your hands and runs away with it. Now, on one hand, this is good because he doesn't damage you, so you're not going to get down from him, but if the weapon he steals from you is your main weapon, your best one, maybe a Pack-a-Punched one, and he manages to escape with it, well, if you're on round 20 and you've now got a crappy secondary weapon, you're pretty much screwed. You can actually kill him before he makes off with your weapon, although it's quite difficult to do. He has a lot of health, but upon doing so, you'll be rewarded with a max ammo and a fire sale, which is a brand new power-up first introduced to 5. So the Pentagon Thief is unique in terms of what he does and that he doesn't actually hurt you like most enemies, but I would argue that taking your weapon is worse and is just going to lead to you getting down the next round anyway, if you can't Pack-a-Punch again quickly. Like I said, 5 gave us a new power-up which was Fire Sale. This reduced the price of the Pack-a-Punch machine from 5,000 points to 1,000 points and linked all of the teleporters to the Pack-a-Punch machine, meaning you didn't have to go to DEFCON 5. And the other new power-up that we had on 5 was the Death Machine. We also saw another special enemy return on 5, which were the Nova Crawlers. You could argue, did we see them first on Kino or 5? Let's just say they were newly introduced on both of these maps. On 5 though, it was a lot more annoying because of how small the map is. There's a higher chance of you running into their Nova 6 gas, which would screw you up, just adding to the difficulty. And the final thing that was integral to the gameplay were the teleporters. Instead of taking elevators each time to get to each level, there were teleporters around the map which would do that. In the basement, there are multiple of them, which will randomly send you to different corners, which, well, if you've ever used them, you will know can be helpful, but can also screw you up massively. For me, mainly because the zombies can come out of them as well. So all of a sudden, you'll be running towards a teleporter, or away from it, or you have to turn around, and zombies will be coming towards you out of the teleporter. They're a blessing and a curse. The wonder weapon on this map was the Winter's Howl. A lot of people think that this weapon was first introduced on Verrucht, but it wasn't, it was 5. We only saw it on the Black Ops version of Verrucht, which released later on. It wasn't on World at War, so 5 did introduce a brand new wonder weapon. The Winter's Howl is decent. A lot of people hate on it. I think it's okay. It's definitely useful on 5. What it does is you'll shoot it at the zombies, it freezes them, and then you can walk towards them and they'll break apart. So as far as gameplay goes, I'm going to say it again, there are a lot of things that make 5 hard. Pack-a-punching is easy, but it was also easy enough on Derice and especially Kino der Toten. 5's about the same, you've just got to flick 5 switches to get to Defcon 5 and then you can access the Pack-a-Punch machine. It is a little bit annoying that you have to do this each and every time you want to Pack-a-Punch. You can't just open the PAP room and then go to it whenever you want. I can only be honest and say I don't enjoy playing the Black Ops version of 5. Since then we've had a remaster being classified in Black Ops 4. I think that version's a lot more playable. The atmosphere isn't quite there maybe, but it's not supposed to be. There are a few changes. So in my opinion, there's a better version of this map to play, a more accessible one if you're not great at zombies. But if you want a challenge, well, 5 is arguably one of the hardest maps in Call of Duty Zombies. Now talking about Easter eggs, there isn't a main one. Many Easter eggs weren't introduced until the map after this, Ascension, but there are a few small cool ones that you can find around the map. There is a portrait of Dr. Edward Richtofen in the panic room. We found out later on and classified why this was here, but for the longest time, this gave us room to theorise. There are 3 red telephones that you will find on the map, where once you go up to them and interact with them, the musical Easter egg will play, which is Won't Back Down by Eminem, and these same phones are also used to call the original characters in Ascension, because if you don't know, 5 and Ascension take place at the exact same time, storyline wise. There was a unique way of finding the mystery box, which was looking at TV screens. Normally you look in the air and see the light coming from the mystery box, but in order to find it on 5, because it was enclosed inside of this building, you'd have to look at TV screens and then find that location on the map, along with a few smaller things. But because 5 was a bonus map, well, there's not really any huge Easter eggs as we'd probably come to expect at this point. And it was sort of the same with the storyline. It was expanded later on, but the basics of it go, because this map takes place at the same time as Ascension, well, when the zombie outbreak happened at Ascension, with Yuri getting sucked into the Ghost device and Samantha telling him to go to 5 to thwart the survival of all 5 characters, because in 5 we play as not a celebrity cast but Fidel Castro, JFK, Richard Nixon and Robert McNamara. We see in the intro cutscene as the 4 are sitting around the table discussing the aftermath of the Cuban Missile Crisis. That is the moment the zombie outbreak happens.
Time and the world do not stand still. Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss the future. I said, are certain to miss the future.
Oh no, I missed that.
Prime Minister Castro, this missile crisis was the last straw. We almost blew ourselves up. Now we invited you here today...
In good faith.
In good faith. To sort this thing out.
And why is he here? He lost.
As I always say, forgive your enemies, but remember their names. Now, gentlemen, as I like to think, in the long history of the world, that there are only a few generations.
Sounds like someone breaking in.
It's just a storm, Dick. Sit down.
Oh my God!
It appears the Pentagon has been breached.
Zombies. Gentlemen, at times like these, our capacity to retaliate must be, and has to be massive, to deter all forms of aggression. Gentlemen, lock and load.
Viva la revolución!
Any last words, Mr. President?
Yes, Jack. Any superlative words of inspiration for our humble troops?
Do not pray for easy lives, my friends. Pray to be stronger men.
And there's quite a cool little Easter egg in the cutscene where when JFK opens up his weapons cabinet, you see he has access to the ray gun. So yeah, as I was saying, when all of the events at Ascension took place, Yuri Savosky was told by Samantha to go to 5 to stop JFK, Nixon, Castro and McNamara, which he does. Yuri is the Pentagon Thief. The zombie outbreak then happens, the crew here fight off against the undead, and they all live, they survive. But in a alternate timeline, they all die. So there we go, that is 5. A simple one, because it's a simple map. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching. Check out the other videos on all of the World at War maps in the description below. Kino der Toten is up next, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.